Hi. So everyone has heard about Web 3.0, but if you have this question, is Web 3.0 the future of the internet? In this video, we are going to discuss in detail, like what are the possibilities that this is going to become the future of the internet, or I should say the future of what is coming. Okay, first of all, let's try to understand the background of what has happened or what is happening right now. So obviously, I'm not going to discuss in detail what is Web 1.0, Web 2.0, Web 3.0, the differentiation, but if I have to be very lenient about it, we are currently living in the edge of Web 2.0, if I may, where there are two types of transactions which are happening. One is the content creator like me, who is creating the content on this platform, and you are the content consumer. But the thing is, I can also become a content consumer. If you start your YouTube channel, if you start your Instagram Reels account or whatever that is, I can become your consumer. I can start consuming the content. So the data flow, if I may, or the transaction is now flowing two ways. So I'm not only the content creator, I'm also a content consumer. You are not only the content consumer, you can also become a content creator, because this infrastructure, this ecosystem enables that everyone can participate in this sort of a economical world. But the problem arises when you don't have the control. So again, I'm not going to badmouth any company, but I would say like a lot of things are happening. Like let's say if your channel is blocked, let's say your account is blocked or something like that. So the entity which is controlling that has the central authority. Nobody can actually question that. There is no regulations around it. There is nothing around it. So the thing is, the only thing which you can do is obviously rely on them. So this is now becoming a challenge for everyone, especially the current society, because we as individual users, if we don't want to be controlled by a central authority, why should anyone actually do that? So this is now focusing our shift towards something which is we call Web 3.0. Now the obvious question is, why Web 3.0 actually matters? Like currently I'm consuming everything. If I want to buy something, I'm purchasing that, I'm using that. But the question is, why Web 3.0 matters now, and why should I be worried, or why it has a potential of becoming a possible future of the internet. Now, I'm not going to say that it is going to become the future of the internet, because again, there are so many speculations going around, and again, I'm not the fortune teller. But I can give the prediction that the concepts which it has put forward in front of everyone can actually lead and make that kind of an internet. What are those concepts? So first of all, obviously, why it matters? Everything is decentralized. That means no single authority, or I should say no single company, has the control over that. Everyone is a participant, everyone is consuming the content, everyone is participating, and everyone has the 100% ownership of whatever they are sort of feeding into the Web 3.0 infrastructure. Second advantage we get is that it is transparent. With transparency, I mean that whatever is happening inside that infrastructure is transparent. So everyone, like let's say if I talk about myself, I can go there, I can see what is happening, what kind of transactions which are happening, and how things are operating. So we can work in this kind of a fashion. So this gives the advantage for the people who want transparency, who want to see, okay, why certain things are happening and what they can do to actually avoid it. Third thing, which is my favorite also, it is all smart contract based. Now, what do I mean by smart contract? Now, obviously, smart contract has various definitions, various ways of understanding what that is. But the simplest way with which I can say is that it is algorithm. It defines what is supposed to happen and how that is going to happen. Now, since that smart contract is open, you can actually read it, you can understand it. Okay, this is how things are happening and this is how things are not going to happen. So the advantage is you are not dependent on a middleman. That means, like, again, I'll give a very simple scenario. What is Web 3.0, or is it a future of the internet? If I want to reach you, I have to use the medium of YouTube. I have to use the medium of Instagram, Snapchat, YouTube, or whatever different platforms are there. But with Web 3.0, I won't rely on that. Like let's say if you want to do the transactions with me, you can do that transaction directly with me. Second example, if I want to give, let's say if you want to send me some money, you belong to a different country, I belong to India. Now, if you want to send some money, you will be obviously using certain banks. Now that banks are going to take a cut in the money which you are sending. Now, I'm not saying that that is wrong, because obviously that is a business model, and how do you expect that company to transfer this amount of money without taking any cut? But what I mean is, you're dependent. If a government says, okay, you're not allowed to send money, you're not allowed to be participant of this financial transactions, you're not allowed to transact anything financially, you are ruined. Now, if you are a person who has some illegal activities, or maybe you're not involved in something which is known as legal, I cannot comment on that. But let's say if you are a legal person and if you're doing everything legally, it is going to hurt you. So this is why Web 3.0 matters. It gives us the decentralization, which is actually the need of the hour. Secondly, it is transparent. And third, it is all driven by the smart contract. So there is no involvement of a human being. There is no sort of a delayed attitude like, okay, I'll get it done tomorrow, I'll get it done day after tomorrow, something like that. If that follows the smart contract algorithm, if I may, it is going to go there. Okay, Avinash, you were very technical about it. You mentioned decentralization, you mentioned smart contract, you mentioned transparency, but what about my mother? What about a newborn child? What about a maid? What about an average citizen who does not understand these heavy words, if I may? What is the advantage for them? I'll give you a simple scenario. When you watch a video on YouTube, probably you see an ad. And when you see an ad, obviously the creator of that video gets a cut, YouTube takes some cut, and the transactions happen. Now, the problem is a lot of people are saying that this is against their privacy policy. They want to make sure that their data is private. Again, I'm not going to go into that debate because that is a separate topic. But we have to understand ultimately the person who is involved here is not getting any advantage. So what we can see in future, probably using Web 3.0, like if you're a participant of this particular network, if I may, of blockchain, you can actually get the advantage. You can get some awards in terms of token, which you can actually use. As an average user for your day-to-day transactions, if I may. Again, I'll give a very simple scenario. In India, we have this famous terminology as cashback. So when we purchase something, if a company is offering discount, instead of offering discount, they're going to give you the cashback. So what happens? The participants are actually getting the advantage of something which is known as currency, which they can use for the further transactions or transactions somewhere else. So you have to understand, with the average user, if the company, or I should say that particular entity which is running that Web 3.0 application decides, okay, the participant of our application is going to get the advantage in terms of token, they are going to get the advantage. So they are not just going to become the participant of it, they will become sort of a partial owner of it. Secondly, like let's say you are a music creator. So what you can do, you can say, okay, I'm going to release this music. If you want to purchase it right now, you can purchase some rights right now. So again, you don't need a middleman. So you are doing, you're making, or I should say enabling two parties to make a transaction without a third party, or I should say a middleman. So it can be music person, it can be content creator, it can be the people who are trying to sell some stuff or something like that. So you can see they can actually participate in this particular infrastructure, ecosystem, environment you want to call it, and they can take the advantage of this heavy words which I mentioned: decentralization, transparency, smart contracts, something like that. Okay, now if you're a business user and you say that I'm not an artist, I'm not a content creator, I'm a businessman, I have a big business, what is the advantage of Web 3.0 for me? Well, you have to understand currently any business, if we talk about, it's run based on an entity. The entity can be anything. Again, the most popular entities are private limited, and second one is public limited. So basically what happens, you hold certain value of that particular entity. So like let's say this current entity is worth $1,000, you own 25% of it, which is you are sort of owner of these $250. Now the problem is you have to follow a lot of things. So what you can do with the Web 3.0, you can actually create something which is known as DAO, if I may, decentralized organizations, if I may. Okay, there is a separate video on how they work, but if I be very honest, they are run solely on basis of algorithms. So what happens? It gives us the advantage that anyone can participate in this particular organization. If they're working hard, they can actually become some partial owner of it. And finally, since it follows all the standards of transparency, so you have the 100% of the trust, like whatever this organization is actually trying to do. Since you can see things transparently, you can actually participate and you can have the trust which is sort of required for the user. So this is how Web 3.0 is going to actually impact the business, but I'm going to make a separate video on that because I understand this is a huge domain of business, and Web 3.0, a lot of people are trying to move in, so we have to understand in detail. So if I have to conclude this video, is Web 3.0 the future of the internet? Again, I'm not a fortune teller, but if I have my opinions with myself, I would say whatever is happening currently with Web 2.0, obviously a lot of people are not happy with what is happening. So what possible things are going to happen? Like, again, I'm pretty much sure that blockchain is going to become that entity, but let's say if it does not, even it does not, somewhere down the line something happens and it does not become, the concepts which it has sort of given birth to can be adapted in the future organizations, if I may, or I should say the future of the internet. So this is how Web 3.0 can actually become the future of the internet, or it does not become the future of the internet. It can actually impact how internet is going to evolve in future.